Hi all. It's my pleasure to extend a warm and cheerful welcome to all my teammates and also our guests to this session of knowledge sharing. And so, our guest today is an entrepreneur who helps entrepreneurs and startups to build their dream. I'm profusely overjoyed to take this opportunity to introduce our guest of the day, Mr. George Panangura, who is the founder of Metric Tree Labs. So, we are so glad and privileged to have you, sir. So, without wasting more time, let's move on to our session of questions.
Before we get to the questions, I'll just give a small introduction if anybody else is listening. My name is George, and I'm the founder of Metric Tree Labs, which is an IT solutions company. And what we do is we help global startups, small and medium companies, and also enterprises to launch top-notch applications in the web, cloud, and mobile, with a focus on healthcare, software as a service, minimum viable product development, and data science. And also, I started my first company back in 2012, straight out of college, like you guys. And I've also launched a lot of software products for startups and also enterprises across the globe. We are a profitable company, and right now we are a small team of 30 people, and we are growing really fast. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
So every company has its own story to tell. So like, the development of the systems or the strategies and how it came up, like how we got the idea and those things. So can you please share your story, how you got this, and how you build your own story?
Okay. So I am assuming that you want to hear about my startup story.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the first idea to start a business for me happened in 2012 when I was in my final year. I was doing my engineering back then. I was not a great engineer, but obviously I sat for a lot of campus placement interviews, and I got rejected a lot, right? The reason being I was not the right fit for engineering jobs. So that was one of the reasons why I got rejected. I got rejected in about 8 or 9 companies. So I was really confused about what to do with my life at that point in time. And for fun, me and my friends, we had started a discussion in our college hostel, that we would start a company. It was just for fun back then. But again, I had a knack of making extra money on the side. So what I used to do was I used to do college projects for my juniors. Like when juniors, in engineering final years, we need to submit a college project, right? So I used to get money from my college juniors, and used to develop projects for them. Then that was just for fun back then. Then afterwards. After college, I was really confused about what to do, and that's when I thought, yeah, let me start with this. So that's how I started. Things started growing from there. It's been 8 years now, and we started with a team of 2, and we are a team of 30 right now. And when you talk about systems and strategy, I would say it would vary from a company to company based on the type of business that you are into, right? So for me, it has been a continuous process of change. So I believe that for every company to be able to grow, every company to be in a position to grow, they should be able to adopt change into a company. The process should be structured in such a way that they should be streamlined for change. So when you look at my story, I started back in 2012 with absolutely no idea of how to do this. On a process perspective, I had no idea. I was in your position, right? So I had no idea how to start, how to set up my process. The only thing I would say I did right was bringing the right changes or process improvements from day one. When I got in my first client, he asked me to raise an invoice. I did not know what an invoice was. Then I went back, I searched in Google, and I learned myself I taught myself what an invoice was. I raised my first invoice back then. So it's all small, it's all these small improvements that you keep making to your business on a daily basis. which is going to improve your business and get things rolling. So I would say over the period of last 8 years, it has been change for me every day. You need to learn and improvise and adapt that change into your process. So once you do that over a period of time, you'll be able to build a business. I hope that answers your question.
Uh, so we all know being an entrepreneur or setting up an enterprise isn't a cakewalk. So could you share with us the difficulties that you had to face in your entrepreneurial journeys?
Okay. If you need to, it's not an easy life. When you get into entrepreneurship, it's not an easy life. It's not an easy choice. A quick quote that comes into my mind is of Reid Hoffman, who was the co-founder of LinkedIn, who said once that an entrepreneur is someone who will jump off a cliff and who will build a plane on his way down, right? So if you ask me about the risks and difficulties that I've faced, problems will come to you on a daily basis. So what would differentiate a business that would survive versus a business that doesn't survive is its ability to, or I would say the founder's ability to find good solutions to the problems that they face on a daily basis. Specifically, if you ask me one major problem that I've faced as a founder, I cannot name one because that keeps happening on a daily basis, right? But a risk that you should be willing to take if you're getting into entrepreneurship is the willingness to take the plunge. You need to start somewhere. If you're not taking the plunge, you will not be able to identify these risks and get to solve all this. So
Yes.
hi,
Hello. So
yeah,
there's a statement.
yeah.
To set meaningful goals, entrepreneurs must reconcile what they want, they are willing to risk. So what's your opinion about this statement, sir?
That's a really complex statement. It gets me confused as well. So on a quick note, what I got from that is to set meaningful goals. What are they willing to risk, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you look at achieving a certain goal by being an entrepreneur, I would say it's a follow-up from my previous answer. Like, the life of an entrepreneur is not for everyone. It's not going to be an easy task, and there will be a lot of instances where your back is going to be pressed against the wall, and you would have nowhere to run to because you would be on your own most of the times. You would be way out of your comfort zone, and most of the times you would be broke as well. When I say broke, you won't have any money to run your business. You don't have any money to pay yourself. If you're comfortable with your regular salaries, if you want, at least in the beginning stages I'm talking about, if you're comfortable with your regular salaries or regular paychecks hitting your account every month, and you're not comfortable getting out of your job, then, or probably if you have a family to take care of and you don't have any other income source, then I would say an entrepreneurship is not the right choice for you. So there is a fine balance between the risk that you should take and the reward that you're going to get. Only if you take a risk, there will be a reward, right? So the people who are able to identify the risk, take the plunge, and solve all the problems associated with the entrepreneurship is gonna reap the reward, I would say. So that's my answer, and I'm not sure whether I answered your question right, but it was a complex question.
Yes,
Okay,
sir,
sir.
you did. So as you talk, like you were talking about risk. So like,
Yeah.
if like I'm ready to take risk, but I don't have an idea for the entrepreneurship. Like I don't have any specific idea what I should do, or like I don't have, like, usually entrepreneurs is stated as a person who has innovative ideas for, or like who has a solution to certain problems. But here I don't have I haven't identified any problem. I don't have any solution, but I just aspire to be an entrepreneur. I'm ready to take risk. So what are people like me supposed to do?
to answer your specific question, I would ask you to take a job, not to get into entrepreneurship. The reason why I tell you is that the reason why I would tell you that is because you also need to make money, right? You need to
Yes.
make a living. If you need a business to succeed, having an excellent idea is something to start with. But if you ask me, having just an idea is enough. If you ask me, that's a big no, because having just an idea is not enough to get a business to succeed. Everyone has ideas. Even I had several ideas when I went to sleep yesterday night. I couldn't sleep. So we keep having ideas every day. What would convert, or what would transform an idea into a successful business? Like, it has certain traits for that, right? Like, the idea that you have should address a problem that someone faces and they are willing to pay for it, right? That's an important factor. And once you have an idea, you also need to build a solution. Like, the idea addresses a problem, so you need to build a solution for the problem that you're trying to address. You must have heard this 1,000 times, but you need to build a solution for the problem that you're trying to address. The solution could be as simple as selling tea in a remote area where people don't have access to good tea, right? So once you have that solution, you need an approach to market the product, to get that product into the market, and see if the solution sells in the market, right? So if you're trying to sell tea in a remote area where people love coffee, then your product is going to fail in the market, right? So so I would say having just an idea is not enough. There are also other things that would help a business succeed. There is there should be an access to capital, even if it's a small amount to start with. There should be an access to capital. And like, let's say if you're planning a much bigger business than a tea shop, then you would probably need to build a team, because you can manage a tea shop on your own. But if you're planning a bigger business, then you need to build a team. Then you also, ultimately, what you need to do is you also need to sell your product and make profit out of it, so that your business becomes sustainable, right? So if you consider all these points together, the key point here is the right execution. Having just an idea is not enough. You need to have all these things combined together, and you need to execute it right to succeed in the market. So to summarize, when you ask me what you should do when you don't have an idea, I would rather say you should get a job, because ultimately you also need to make a living. But when you have an idea, you should take the leap, right? But otherwise, you should get a job and make money, so that you will have some capital to invest in. Cash flow matters.
And the
age.
yes,
Age, yeah.
yes. So
So you were talking about capital.
Yeah.
To find the right investor, or you need some backup. You always need the financing for your startup. It could be anything. So how is it that you find them? It's like, I have something with me. I have an idea. I don't know where to. I don't know who to pitch. That is very important. And what are the financial alternatives that we have in front of us? So can you give an idea?
Okay. Before we start talking about finding investors, I think we should need to have a conversation about whether a business would need an investor or not. There are different kinds of businesses, but on an investment perspective, I would say there are two kinds of businesses. One is an investable business and a non-investable business, right? So when you are trying to get an investor on board in your company, ultimately the aim for an investor is to come into your company, put some money into it, and take a profit out of the company, right? He needs to have a return. So when you're looking for an investor, when you're looking for an external investor, obviously he would evaluate your company or your business on on different scenarios, and he would evaluate it based on how he can get his money out, how he can multiply his money, right? So if it's a non-investable business, that doesn't mean that your idea is bad. It's just that there won't be enough room for you and your investor to both make good profits. So when you are bringing in an external investor, as an equity investor, there is also one more thing that you need to consider. You are giving a control of your company to an external agent. All right. So all these are different scenarios that are to be considered while you are deciding whether you should be bringing in an investor or not. But at the end of the day, if you want to raise an equity investment, there is no easy way to do it, I would say. You need to build a network. You need to. I've raised some equity investment back in 2016, but I'm not a great fan of equity investment. If you ask me, the best money is the customer's money because you have the entire control, right? If the customers start paying you, then you can use that profit to grow. But again, you need to strategize, right? Like whether you need to keep the control, whether you want to build a profitable business, or you want to build a high growth startup. If you want to build a high growth startup and scale the company very rapidly, you obviously need an access to capital. But if you want to build just a profitable business, growing at least 20% every year, as compared to growing 10 to 20% every week. If you need to grow 10 to 20% every week, you definitely need external capital. So at the end of the day, if you want to raise equity investment, there is no easy way to do that. You need to build your network. You need to start attending networking and pitching events where you would get to meet investors. You can also try joining accelerator programs. There are programs called Y Combinator. There are programs called Techstars. In Kerala, we have the government's nodal agency called Kerala Startup Mission. They have an idea day grant. Like you can go there and pitch your idea and they'll give you a grant. They won't take any equity. They'll just give you around 10 lakh rupees. There are several companies that here in Kerala who have had access to these funds and they've grown with this. And other than Kerala, if you look all over in India, all the different states in India support startups. So if you go to Startup India portal, you can see all the startup programs. So all these different programs are providing accesses to the investors. Like it's not very easy to meet the investors directly. If you send a cold mail to the investor, it's most likely that they won't reply to you, right? So it's best to have a good reference, and programs like this, state agencies like this, is a good start for you. And when I raised my first round of funding in 2016, I did it through an accelerator program. I was part of an accelerator program in 2016. So, and if you ask my honest opinion, I would say the best money is always the customer's money. At least till we get your business to a particular point, always try to generate income from your customer, generate profits from your customer, and that will put you in a better position to raise money later on. When you are in a position to bring in external investors, you will have better negotiation power or better ability to negotiate for better valuations, I would say. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. So we'll go for the next question.
So this is a cliche question that every entrepreneur is asked to, but still I'm going to ask the question. How supportive was your friends and family?
That's a question that everyone faces when they are getting into entrepreneurship, right? If you are, especially when you are a first generation entrepreneur, if your parents are not into business, then definitely they would say no. They would be skeptical. My parents doesn't come from a business background. They used to work my dad used to work in a bank. So obviously when I went to him and told him that I want to start a business, the initial response was a big no. But I am a really persistent guy. So I kept pushing till he agreed, right? So, but one thing you need to make sure is that look at your family background, right? Like if you have a family to feed, like if you have a family to take care of, I would not ask you to right away jump into entrepreneurship, because obviously you need to have the cash flow. You need to have the money to feed your family, right? To take care of your kids and your parents. So if you ask me, just evaluate your background, your situation, and then you would need to prioritize. Like if you can afford to take that risk, right? Uh, Thankfully, by God's grace, I was able to take that risk. I was not in a position where I needed to support my family, so I took that risk. I did not take a big salary out of my company for the first 2 3 years. We just took out just enough to help us survive. Uh, so support from family is really important, and I would say support from friends is really important.
Sir, you already mentioned about the team build. As we all know
Yeah.
that it is very important. So how was the team build?
Yeah.
And also, what about the organizational structure that you followed?
All right. So in my case, I was extremely lucky enough to get my two friends on board from day one. One of my friends, he was my schoolmate, whom I knew for around 14 years. And one other guy, we used to have this discussion in college. So one guy from college also came on board with me. And they were like, in that sense, I was extremely lucky, and I was extremely lucky to be able to bring them on board and let them be part of the growth. But one advice I would like to give you is that you will have to be extremely choosy uh, while you're selecting your co-founder. In simple words, selecting a co-founder is like marrying someone. If you break up, the child is going to suffer, right? So here your child is your company or your business. So there is no easy way to do it. You always need to look out for people with complementary skills. In my case, we started a software company, right? So I brought in a co-founder who was extremely good with technology, and I brought in another co-founder who was extremely good with the creative side of things, and I am extremely good in marketing myself, or our company, right? So I take care of the operation, sales, and marketing side of things. So it was the right blend, but there were other co-founders also involved, but like I'm not saying that I've always made the right decisions in bringing in the co-founders. It has also happened that there were some wrong decisions also, but like I was able to figure it out on the go. So
So this scenario, this COVID scenario, has affected everybody in different ways. So how was it for your company? Like, was it did it have any positive impact, or obviously everybody has a lot of negative impact?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
was it?
So COVID has disrupted businesses globally, but thankfully, in my case, I had a really positive impact, because that's one of the reasons is because I'm into a business in a stream uh, which everybody requires. I'm into building softwares, right? So when a traditional business uh, goes out of business, the only way that they can improve their business is to go online or resort to delivering their services through software. So in that sense, I was able to grow my business. Grow my business in the past couple of months. It has not been a bad time for us, thankfully. See, my advice for you guys, if you are really interested interested in getting into entrepreneurship, is I think I mentioned this already, but and you must have heard this 1,000 times already. You need to find an idea that solves a problem, then build a solution around that problem, and make sure that your customers are willing to pay for it. So once all these three things are in place, then definitely you would be able to build a good business. I'm not saying everyone should build a high growth startup, but like even if you are starting a tea shop, or like if you're starting a bakery, like make sure that you start it in such a way that you're addressing some sort of a problem, so that you get business, right? You stand out from the other competitors out there. All right. So
Yes.
I hope I got to answer all your questions. If there are anything,
Yeah.
feel free to
Yes,
drop me a
sir.
mail.
Is
Yes.
there anything
Yes.
anything else? Anybody?
For now, no, I guess, right?
Okay, and so I think we'll wind up.
So So with that, we conclude today's section. I thank Mr. George Panangula on behalf of my all team for sparing his time for knowledge, sparing his time for knowledge sharing section with us. It was a wonderful experience for all of us, and I know will benefit the students of in QSAT. As well as once again, I thank you, all my team members, for organizing this for the entrepreneurial program. Thank you all.